All right, so hey guys, today we're going to be talking about line weights. Actually, I might jump around a little bit and teach you a couple different things, but for the most part, in theory, I think one easy way to make a drawing look like a readable tattoo is to make everything that is basically in front of you or closer to you to have a heavier line weight around it. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Um, so basically, you have your foreground, middle ground, and background, and it's up to you to figure out what stuff, how close after you make a drawing, your design is done. How close are the things to you that have the biggest line weights? So I also, try to make your. I want you to make your tattooing like your drawing. So, for instance, you want to get a rotary machine and draw with a Sharpie because they feel so similar. Um, and then going back, you'll see here that this skull is like the foremost thing. So I'm going to put the biggest line around him. So you'll see me constantly readjusting and trying to grab the line that is closer to me at first here. So this is a pencil sketch, a pen outline, and then a thicker pen outline, and then Sharpie. So this is a long process if you've ever wondered why tattoos are expensive, especially custom designs. It's different with you if you just walk in and say, "This is what I want," and I can make a stencil, but and also it's actually not something that I do all that often, but it might be a good idea for you to also, um, mark the paper in a way that's an acceptable tattoo technique, that's going to successfully get your ink into the skin. So for me, that would be like this. I always come, um, I pull towards myself, never pushing because it makes room for like shakier lines. So if you also another tip for sure, if you feel like you should turn the paper, that's because you should. If you feel that instinct while you're drawing to rotate it to get this angle better, that is definitely something you should obey for the most part. And then the way that I implement that in my tattooing is obviously I like to lay all my clients on a table, and give myself space, to where I can roam freely around the canvas or the person as I tattoo. So see how you'll see a mistake there. First thing I did was I was pushing and not pulling, being unfocused, and I made a line here. It's not ideal. But in the grand scheme of things, you're not probably going to see that as like a huge, especially people who aren't artists and didn't make the. You might always see it, but when it comes to this level of work, a lot of times they're pretty hard to disappoint, honestly. All right, so I'm gonna move this stuff up here, this jaw. Give character to my lines. A lot of little bumps and every move that you make, you know, the paper will show you. So every direction you come from, and you know, the pressure and angle, it all matters every time. And so we're gonna get into shading now, because I have most of these lines. So I want to try to make a thinner line if I can right here, for example, because it's behind all of this stuff. So, and if you know, miss at it, you can always, uh, you know, just remaster everything after, you know, it's never finished almost, is kind of a good mindset to have. You want to produce quality work. So these are way back here. I'm trying to tuck these way in the back. It's truly difficult to do with a Sharpie, but I feel like I'm decent at it. I'm making a line thinner here versus thicker here, or whatever's close to you. That's what this whole video is about. I'm going to repeat myself a few times, more than a few times, to try to truly convey the message clearly. I've also noticed the slower I go, as far as drawing goes, I mess up more. If I can position myself to where I can make a quicker stroke, it's always better almost. So, okay. I think we got most of our major lines here outlined. Alright, so now I feel the impulse to like push this further and take, you know, some of this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that like I talked about, just to be safe and show you truly what I mean. See, if I bump these up, all these ribs are very important. They're very front forward. They're right here in your face, so there's no reason not to just give more emphasis to them. And then also alright, and these forward pedals here, what I'm talking about. You can also, now this is like a step that I didn't really mention before, but this is another stylish thing that I like to do. Feel free to play with by yourself, but I put the lines only on the bottom of the line. Do I make it really thick, and that just creates extra depth, makes it look like a shadow almost. So you'll see that only on the bottom ones. And you're just thinking about there being a light source up here when you're making these lines. For instance, if there was a light source up here, my only logical explanation to put shadow would be under where the light doesn't hit. So see how it gives it like a 3D effect. This is a kind of a graph trick, actually. I only see a lot of guys in LA doing it with graffiti in their lettering. But for us Ohio people, you get that stuff on the side of trains. Alright, and a lot of this stuff, a lot of these technical lines in here, all this extra stuff I did, it's what it seems, that's going to come into play later. Somewhat, not all of it though, you know, it's totally okay to just bomb some of them and black that area out and let them be lost. Not all of them are meant to make the cut. So here we go. This is what I've been doing lately for my shading, is going in with a medium tone. There we go. So basically, this is your gray wash. And what you want to notice here too, though, is I put a light source right here. So this eye is actually its own light source. That's going to give heavy shadow right under it, but then not as much on the inside. So we can just go ahead and flatten that all the way out back there. That's what I love about these brush type markers, brush tips. They really let you do kind of whatever you want. So you see all the lights coming from this side. I'm just imagining to myself that there's a light over here. And then it's going to be a lot less on this side. Get on all those goodies there. That can get confusing. Ribs, like the back part of them. Seems like there's this sort of pattern here I can follow. So yeah, that'll consist of, I guess, a shading video too, partly. So number one, what we're learning is line weights. So push everything that's closest to you forward. More detail up front. Everything that's the closest to you is just going to have the most detail. So the most intricate shade work you're going to do will be in the face, because that you want to throw emphasis on the face and the body here, and then the rose is kind of in the back, and other naturistic marks are definitely secondary to the skull itself, or skeleton, I should say. I could also do this, like a little drop shadow onto the skin. This is called drop shadow. All the shading I'm doing now falls under that category. It's all a shadow from one part of the image falling onto a separate section. I think that's realism for you. That's the way that you can be creative and then also make it appear to be, um, real. So I'm just getting sloppy here. Good thing it's not a person. I was in a funny mood or just go too fast or whatever. No, just kidding. All right, and there you have it. A little example, I guess, of this shading that you could do up front, to this thing to make it brighter is actually giving it some very small attention. Whip out that 3-round liner like they tell you not to, and go the extra mile for your client. This stuff. I could go on for a while doing this, but just little extra marks. Show personality and texture in your image. But yeah, I could always go in there with black too, and just maybe for example a ballpoint pen would be a little faster. There's gonna be but I guess I'll just do one little piece here to show you. You just black that shit out. And this will be your. See what I'm saying? This will be your actual black versus your gray wash ink. I think drawing is the single most important thing about tattooing. What's delivered me the best success overall, I would say, is drawing. Being able to, on the fly, take care, make this creative decisions, and the more of an art head you are, just the more you know what people want. Like, what are people getting? What is happening in the tattoo world? That. Also, when you look at an image, online of somebody else's work, you're not just like. It's not really stealing. They're. If you drew it like that, you couldn't draw it like them if you wanted to. I mean, I spent years trying to make my art like this other artist. Just never really. I never could really emulate his style the way I had desired originally. And I'm still on that road, actually, I guess I could say. But embrace your style, but just don't call laziness style either. I would definitely do all kinds of techniques. You got hatching in here, you got some stippling in the back. I mean, you could even scribble too, and this is like, giving myself an extra shadow. So my theory is I like to do half of this area right here, where there's, the gray strip, or right here, this gray strip. I'd like to do, if I can, leave a little white line of reflected light, but I failed to do that here. So I do about halfway between this point and this point. I want to zoom in on that, but halfway between this point and this point are where I'm going to shade. So that just gives when I back up and look, it just looks fluent and looks like it flows. Your eye won't pick up that line, especially if you make it, not so dark. Like, for example, here, your eye's not going to pick up this hard line at that halfway point if it's very loose and thin. So there you go, guys. I think that's enough for today. I don't want to say too much and have you forget. So, all right, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share with all your friends. If you know anyone who does art and needs a little help, you can definitely message me, comment, and I'm sure to reply some point in time when I'm not drawing. But thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.